Good evening. I'd like to call the 6 p.m. Spokane City Council legislative meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Council President Beggs,
Present.
Councilmember Burke,
Here.
Councilmember Cathcart,
Present.
Councilmember Kinnear,
Present.
Councilmember Mumm,
Here.
Councilmember Stratton,
Here.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all council members are present.
All right. Good to see everyone. We do have actually 11 different matters to consider on our agenda, but there's only 2 people signed up from the public for testimony. So we'll just start going through them. We have several special budget ordinances. And Madam Clerk, if you want to read the title of the first one.
Ordinance C-35-941, amending ordinance number C-35-857, passed by the City Council December 16, 2019, and entitled, an ordinance adopting the annual budget of the City of Spokane for 2020, making appropriations to the various funds of the City of Spokane government for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2020, and providing it shall take effect immediately upon passage and declaring an emergency and appropriating funds in. Ordinance C-35-941, Fire EMS Fund from Department of Homeland Security, $497,963 to personal protective equipment same amount. This action allows acceptance of a new assistance to firefighters grant from the Department of Homeland Security for COVID-19 personal protective equipment and related supplies to prevent, prepare for, and respond to coronavirus. Relates to consent agenda item number 7, which was approved at the 3:30 briefing.
All right, there's no public comment on this one. It essentially allows us to accept a grant for personal protective equipment for our first responders. Is there any council commentary? All right, I'm not seeing any. I'll take a roll call vote. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President is an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 7-0. That gets us to our next special budget ordinance.
Ordinance C-35-942, Public Safety and Judicial Grant Fund for Mental Health Unit, $178,423 to various accounts, same amount. This action allows awarded grant funds to be used towards a regional mental health unit program. Relates to consent agenda items numbers 8 and 9, which were approved this afternoon.
Again, there's no public comment signed up for this. One of my favorite programs, the co-deployed programs, where social workers are deployed with police officers, and this grant will pay for a Spokane Police Sergeant to supervise both Spokane police officers in this program and Spokane County Deputy Sheriffs. Is there any public comment on this? Excuse me, not public comment. Any council commentary? Questions? Not seeing any. Take a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President is an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 7-0. Our next special budget ordinance.
Ordinance C-35-943, Human Services Grants Fund from Indirect from Department of Treasury, $668,475 to various accounts, same amount. This action provides funding to prevent evictions by paying past due and future rent for young adult-headed households, targeting limited resources to those with the greatest needs while working to distribute funds equitably.
Again, we don't have any public comment, and again, just pretty much speaks for itself, but it's for grant funds for the city to help young adults who might be at risk of homelessness. Any council commentary on this? All right, hearing and seeing none. Start with the roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 7-0. Next and last, special budget ordinance.
Okay. Ordinance number C-35-948, and I will read in its entirety. An ordinance amending ordinance number C-35-857 passed by the City Council December 16, 2019, and entitled an ordinance adopting the annual budget of the City of Spokane for 2020, making appropriations to the various funds of the City of Spokane government for fiscal year ending December 31, 2020, providing it shall take effect immediately upon passage and declared an emergency. Whereas subsequent to the adoption of the 2020 budget, ordinance number C-35-857 is above entitled, in which passed the City Council December 16, 2019, it is necessary to make changes in the appropriations of the general fund, which changes could not have been anticipated or known at the time of making such budget ordinance. And whereas this ordinance has been on file in the City Clerk's office for 5 days, now therefore the City of Spokane does ordain, Section 1, that in the budget of the general fund and the budget annexed thereto with reference to the general fund, the following changes be made. From non-departmental Department of Commerce, $3,330,000 to general fund contractual services, same amount. Section 2, it is therefore by the City Council declared that an urgency and emergency exists for making the changes set forth herein. Such urgency and emergency arising from the need to budget for additional City CARES Act funding received from the State Department of Commerce. And because of such need, an urgency and emergency exists for the passage of this ordinance, and also because the same makes an appropriation, it shall take effect and be in force immediately upon its passage.
All right, again, no public testimony signed up. This is a second installment of CARES Act money from Governor Inslee to the City of Spokane of $3,330,000, and I'm anticipating that we will try to allocate it to the community similar to what we have on the first $6,600,000. Are there any council comments or questions? Councilmember Wilkerson.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say that the needs just continue to be so great in our community, and I am appreciative that this additional money came in from the governor. We don't know how long he's going to last, but however far we can make this money go to get relief to our citizens, I think is a wonderful thing. So I'll be voting aye.
The other advantage I wanted to mention is that along with this money came an extension. It used to be we had to spend all the money by the end of October. Now both this money and the money we're trying to spend right now has until November 30th. So that allows us to help people longer and will be a little easier on those agencies that are distributing it to businesses and to landlords and tenants and childcare and all the things that we're doing. So unless there's any other comment, I'll start the roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President is an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, it passes 7-0. And now we're done with special budget ordinances, but very similar with the same kind of emergency clause as the emergency ordinance before us. Madam Clerk, if you want to read that.
Ordinance C-35-944 relating to program participation criteria for the UHelp Utility Bill Payment Assistance Program and Partnership for Response to the COVID-19 Pandemic, amending Section 13.09.100 of the Spokane Municipal Code and declared an emergency.
All right. Again, no public members of the public have signed up to testify. This would continue the extend the expansion of our UHelp utility bill, which assists ratepayers with water and garbage bills from the city who are unable to pay, helps pay those bills, and especially in the time of COVID. Any council commentary or questions? All right, we'll have a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 7-0. Now we're down to regular resolutions and final reading of ordinances.
Resolution 2020-66, declaring Clean Energy Newport Beach, California, a sole source provider for repairs and maintenance of the City of Spokane CNG refueling station to be used on an as-needed basis for an annual estimated expenditure of $250,000, including tax, deferred from September 14, 2020 agenda.
Again, there's no public testimony signed up for this. Pretty much speaks for itself. Is there any council commentary or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll have another roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 7-0. If you could read the next resolution.
Resolution 2020-67, establishing the City of Spokane's federal legislative agenda for the 117th Congress.
All right, so I think this is the first year the council has fully taken over setting the federal agenda in consultation with the administration. And so it's a resolution essentially setting it out, and then it has a document as an exhibit that sets out the various points on that. We don't have any public testimony on that, but it is now open for council commentary or questions. Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, Council President, I would make a motion to strike the fourth bullet of the first section on civil rights.
Okay.
I'll second.
And is there any discussion? That's the one related to qualified immunity for anyone watching it.
Correct.
Would you like to speak in favor of your motion to strike?
Yeah, if there's no other comments.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
We can't
I just simply believe.
tell us why you're doing it.
I just simply believe that we should take this issue up during our reform discussions that are pending in the next few months. It's on the list of potential reforms, and we haven't really had a formal discussion on this topic. And it's one that definitely can be a deterrent for officers perhaps looking our direction. And I just think that it's something that we should hold off on and have that robust discussion at a later date.
Any other council commentary on the motion to strike that?
Yes,
portion?
Council President.
Yes.
Yes. So can you tell us, because it's my understanding that this is a federal issue that needs to be changed at the federal level. We don't have jurisdiction at the local level, and it's also my understanding that the administration asked you to not deal with this at the local level. Am I correct?
Yes. So qualified immunity is a federal issue, and it basically, in sum, says that on federal civil rights cases, if a government employee is found to have violated someone's rights and caused them damage, they are still immune from paying for them unless it's been clearly established by the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals. And so there's a lot of actual misconduct and damage that occurs to citizens and community members that doesn't get paid for by the people at fault. I had put this on our original potential police reform agenda, but when we translated it to the potential community conversation we're going to have with law enforcement and community reform advocates, the administration asked me to take off qualified immunity on the federal level as far as whether we should have it or not have it at federal law. So I did take that off. It does remain on that for conversation of how to deal with it until it is removed from federal law. So just as a practical matter. So there will probably be some discussion about how the city would deal with qualified immunity, but there's not a scheduled discussion on whether or not there should be qualified immunity at the local level. So. Councilmember Wilkerson.
Thank you, Council President. I realize this is a federal issue, it's not at the local level, but we have taken positions of where we stand. So foremost, qualified immunity means that the victims of brutality or harassment by law enforcement generally get no relief in court and have no ability to hold offending officers accountable. That means officers who commit the brutality and harassment and the government that employs them have little incentive to improve their practices and follow the law. And I want to emphasize improve their practices. This undermines the safety and justice for everyone, and particularly for people of color or vulnerable people who are most likely to be target of police misconduct. So no, it's not at our level, but we as a community, how do we feel about that and will we stand up for it?
Any other council commentary? All right. I'm not seeing or hearing. Is that Councilmember Cathcart?
Councilmember Cathcart has something.
Yep. No, sorry.
I was just to respond and maybe wrap up. I think that it's a worthy discussion, and I think that there may be variations of qualified immunity reform that would make sense. But I think to punish all officers, even those that are good with the potential for unnecessary litigation that may be unfounded, is necessarily the best way to go about it. And so if there's ways that we can hold those officers who deserve to be held accountable, absolutely, 1,000% agree, and let's figure out the best way to do that. I just don't think a blanket qualified immunity reform is the right approach. But regardless, I think it belongs in that discussion of those police reforms.
Councilmember Mumm first, and then Councilmember Kinnear.
We've had lengthy discussions with our federal lobbyists and had this at committee, and I believe the committee supported including this.
Councilmember Kinnear.
I don't see why we can't do both. I think it does need to be on our legislative agenda, our federal legislative agenda, but I don't see why we can't bring it up at a local level. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive, so why can't we do both?
Any other commentary? Councilmember Stratton.
I would just say, given what's happened in this country the last several months, the discussions that we've all had with the community, that this is an important issue to people, and they are trusting us to be true to our word and to hold people accountable. So I echo what Councilmember Wilkerson said, and Councilmember Mumm as well. I think that we need to stand up and make a statement with this.
All right. I see Councilmember Wilkerson.
My last comment.
Yep.
So just to respond to Councilmember Cathcart, they will get due process of law. So it's just not a blanket. As everybody who's held accountable for breaking the law, that's the only thing that we're asking in return. Nobody's above the law. Nobody believes it. So thanks again.
All right. Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, don't disagree at all. I just don't want to see good officers stuck with a big legal bill that's unnecessary.
All right. And fortunately, we have supported our police officers, and we pay for their legal bills and indemnify them. So I don't think this will impact them individually, but it has been a method that cities and governments have used to avoid actually improving their training and policies, because they haven't been held financially accountable. Because we're only talking about situations where people are found to have violated people's rights and damaged people. So if nothing bad has happened and there's no damage, it doesn't come into play. But robust conversation. I appreciate that. So the motion is to strike the qualified immunity bullet point from the legislative agenda. All those in favor of that motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay. So that looks like that motion fails 1-6. Now we're just on the legislative agenda itself. Does anyone have any further comment about the legislative agenda and the attachment? Councilmember Mumm.
I just want to thank Eric Paulson, who is our intergovernmental affairs director, and our lobbyists who worked on this, and all the input from everyone on council and council staff. Brian McClatchy, I think, has helped as well. And this is just how we are going forward now. It's really one of the last things that we worked on in order to get all the policy over to the correct side of the council. We are policy and budget. So thank you. We'll continue to work on this and work hand in hand with the mayor's office as well. But it really aligns us with the work that we need to be doing. So I'll be voting aye.
Okay. Any other commentary? Then that's time for a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Nay.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, our legislative agenda passes 6-1. That brings us to the next ordinance. And actually, before you get to that, we did at our 3:30 session defer consideration of ordinance C35924, which would grant Yellowstone Pipeline Company a franchise. We've deferred that until October 12th, I believe.
Ordinance C-35-939, amending Ordinance C-32-481, passed by the City Council on August 30, 1999, that amended Ordinance C-29-198, passed by City Council September 6, 1988, pertaining to the vacation of Carlisle Avenue.
We have no public comment. Eldon, since you stuck around for our meeting, do you want to just tell the viewers a thumbnail of what this vacation would do?
Yeah, good evening. Basically, what we're doing on this is Wiscombe Avenue was part of a larger vacation years gone by, and we retained utility easements when it was approved. I went back in 1988 the first time. All we're doing at this time is releasing the public and private easements we had in this stretch of Wiscombe between Cleveland and North Foothills Drive, just so the applicant can kind of have a free and clear title of that property when he wants to build on it. So that's simply what we're doing, is doing a new final reading, releasing these previous easements. So happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Brown? I'm not seeing anyone, so you can unshare your screen. Thank you. There's no public testimony on this. Any questions or I already asked that. Any comments before we vote? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we'll have to take a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right. That passes 7-0. That brings us to our next ordinance, where we actually have some public testimony.
Ordinance C-39-540, amending Ordinance Number C-34-470, which created the Spokane University District Revitalization Area.
And actually, we have Lars Gilberts on the line, who's Executive Director of the Public Development Authority for the University District. And Lars, would you like to just give a thumbnail sketch to the council who've been briefed on this previously, but also any viewers of what this amendment would do?
Yes, I'm happy to speak, and also I believe our chair, Cindy Lever, has signed up and is able to speak too. So
Yep, I have
whichever one you want to call on first.
No, I will call on you to kind of describe it and why it's important, and then I will call on Ms. Lever.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you so much. So the main reason is many of the council people were working on this last year, and there's some great intentions to standardize things between this PDA and the other two PDAs, and to be able to help us be able to act a little bit more nimbly by having a smaller board. And so a number of those intentions were achieved. However, there was a few things in the wording that didn't get fully resolved, and this would bring all of that into final resolution. And just kind of as a reminder, the funds that we've used in the past, $3.2 million of that, we used to be able to draw down 4 times that amount to build the University District Gateway Bridge, and then also being the money on Sprague Avenue, that without that, especially with recent changes in funding and the economy, it would probably be a good decade longer for that to be able to be renovated. So with this clarified, without this clarified, we would not really have the ability to invest quickly and be able to promote some economic growth. And economic growth is one of 4 things that we're focusing on: that, creating jobs, improving the tax base, and increasing housing in the University District. So with this clarity, we'll be able to, again, be able to make some catalytic investments that draw additional funds into this area.
Could you just sketch out what you used to call the cliff and what this does for the last few years, just so that people understand what it is that changed that we're actually making here?
Absolutely. So when we were, the UDRA was originally founded, we were allocated up to $100,000, I'm sorry, 100% up to $650,000. And what we are looking to shift partly with this, that was the cap, is that rather than the University District getting all of the funds, we are splitting it so that our investments, the fund is only replenished so much as we're able to create opportunity within the city. Additionally, on the cliff that you referenced there, we were created at the beginning of the recession, and so we've gotten hit twice with this. But additionally, when the county joined in, they are participating through the end of 2039. And the way the language previously had it, it dropped off at the end of 2035, risking even the county staying in on that. So this makes sure that the city is participating with the county through the end of 2039. And just those additional 4 years, the power of compounding interest, the investments that we make now will generate more returns then, which will allow us to actually borrow against that future growth to invest more in the next year or two. So both addressing the cap and the cliff.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone, since you're a resource, hang on to the phone there. Do any council members have any questions for Lars? Not really seeing any, so I will thank you, Lars, for explaining that and all the work that you do for all of us there. And it's very exciting. I've been on the board now for just about 8 months, and lots of exciting things with the Catalyst building opening up and lots of plans there, including a big housing project, which is what we really need in the South University District. But with that, I'm going to invite Cindy Lever, if you would like to address us, if you want to hit *3 and raise your hand. We'll have your testimony for 3 minutes. All right, go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll let you know when we're at the end of 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Cindy Lever. I'm a resident of the city of Spokane. I am also the chair of the University District Development Association and have been on the board for 3 years. I also work at New America Credit Union as their chief strategy officer. So I just wanted to share that in my work with the University District with Lars, I was involved in some of the conversations that went on last year in regards to how we were going to move the University District PDA to be more in line with the other PDAs that we have in our area, which was also trying to get county participation by standardizing things. And one of the things was that one of the challenges was that we had this cap, which meant no matter how much work we put in, at some point in time, we wouldn't reap any benefits from it, and really no incentive to really keep investing. And so the suggestion was in order to incentivize the city to reduce the cap was to change the participation from 100% of revenues down to some sort of split, and they landed on a 50-50 split. So I was actually in that conversation where we first talked about that. This also standardized us with the other PDAs to make us more similar. And really, this was the original intent of last year's changes, was to create that language, but somehow in the process, both what Lars refers to as the cap, which was the $650,000 cap, did not get lifted, and the cliff, which was the agreement ending in 2035 instead of 2039, also did not get adjusted. So the idea here is to rectify that and go back to the original intention behind the changes made. So that's all I wanted to share.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for your service to all of us there. That's the end of public testimony on this matter. Is there any council commentary or questions? All right. I'm seeing none. We'd have a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right. Passes 7-0. And although I can't see him, I know Lars is smiling broadly. So I'm glad we could finally get this done. Next, first reading ordinances.
Each of the first reading ordinances will be considered under hearings. Hearing item H1A, hearing on the vacation of the north half of Rosewood Avenue just east of Helena, as requested by John and Nicole Whipple. H1B, first reading ordinance C-35-945, vacating the north half of Rosewood Avenue between the east line of Helena Street and 25 feet east of the west line of Lot 17, Block 27, of the plat of Guns Addition to Spokane in Section 28, Township 26 North, Range 43 East, WM Spokane, Washington, from owners having an interest in real estate abutting the above right-of-way. Further action is deferred on the first reading ordinance.
All right, so this is a hearing to consider approval subject to conditions. We don't have any public testimony, but Mr. Brown, if you'd like to just, again, give us a thumbnail of what we're talking about here.
Yes. What we're talking about on this one is Rosewood Avenue, just east of Helena Street, in northeast Spokane. The applicants actually requested vacation of the red cross-hatched area using the non-user statute. To be able to apply using the non-user statute, the property actually had to have been dedicated prior to 1904. This was actually platted back in 1890. It had to be unopened for a period of 5 years, the right-of-way. As near as we can tell, that occurred in that timeline. And also the property had to be located in Spokane County for at least a period of 5 years before it was dedicated to the city. It wasn't dedicated to the city until 1994, so it certainly met that criteria. Using the non-user statute is a no-cost vacation. The city doesn't have any utilities in that right-of-way. It's Comcast and Vista does. So we would like to actually establish some easements for Comcast and Avista prior to doing the final reading of the vacation. Other than that, we would just recommend approval subject to conditions. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right. If anyone has any questions from council, just go ahead and volunteer, since I can't see all of you at the moment. Or any council commentary, the same. Is that Councilmember Wilkerson?
President,
Yes.
Council, what was this land going to be used for? Or is it just going to be vacant land that's vacated?
Right now, I think the intent is to actually just secure the property. I mean, they may intend to do something with it, but I think they want to build a fence around it at this point in time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other council questions or commentary? Just go ahead and volunteer. All right. I'm not hearing or seeing any, so we'll have a vote on this. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right. That passes 7-0, subject to conditions. And that gets us to the last matter of the evening.
H2A, hearing on the vacation of Grant Street between 5th and I-90 as requested by Darren Deneen. H2B, first reading ordinance C-35-946, vacating Grant Street from the north line of 5th Avenue to the south right-of-way line of I-90.
All right, again, there's no public testimony requested, but Eldon, go ahead and tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, there's a little strip of right away there of Grant Street, just north of Fifth Avenue, that dead ends at the freeway. So WSDOT is really the bordering property owner for that right away. They didn't have any issues with that vacation. This one we will charge the assessed value for the property, which turns out to be approximately $35,000 for the vacation of this. Property owner does want to consolidate the right of way for development purposes. We do not have any city utilities. I don't think there's any other private utilities in that right of way either. So we're not requesting any easements. We just would recommend approval subject to conditions, and one of them is paying the $35,000 assessed valuation fee. Be happy to answer any questions on that one.
All right, any council questions for Mr. Brown? And again, just volunteer if you have one. Not hearing any, Eldon, so you can unshare your screen. Thank you so much for your service to us tonight. Have a good evening. Any council commentary on this vacation? Seeing and hearing none, I'll go to a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 7-0. We don't have any other scheduled business tonight. Thanks everyone for your cooperation, and everyone have a nice evening. We'll see you next week if you're one of our viewers. We're adjourned.